Hi everybody, it's Krista Silz here. I have Michael Barnes with me. Michael Barnes has been in a bunch of different businesses, and right now his main focus is outreach with Cincinnati Hacking Homelessness is kind of your main focus right now. And
Yes.
yeah, so tell us a little bit about what that is, and even a little bit about your background and how it came about.
Yeah. So, real quick on the background. So, Krista and I have known each other for a few years, so it'll be even quicker. I came out to Cincinnati and went to school here and never left. So, got a degree in genetics, ended up at Cincinnati Children's for about 12 years, then was director of lab ops at a genetic testing lab, which actually does have some connections with homelessness. Um, I did some business coaching, which is when I met Krista, with both the coaching and networking that we both do. I started a company called Awakened Innovations, and that company connects nonprofits with high quality vetted service providers. So basically, we help nonprofits find good consultants and contractors. And as Krista said, my main focus now is sort of changed the name a little bit, Krista. It's now the Cincinnati Region Hacking Homelessness.
Okay.
The reason I changed it is, as you probably know, here in Cincinnati, people, or the Cincinnati region, people are worried about the names. And so Cincinnati region really means Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati up to Dayton, as well as, what was that, Southeast Indiana.
Everything in this area is like 30 minutes, and you're in hour to Dayton, 30 minutes to Kentucky, 30
Yeah,
minutes to Indiana. So that's why you're kind of changing it to the region, correct?
exactly. And I talked to people in Northern Kentucky, and it didn't even occur to me, but first couple of people I talked to said, well, it's Cincinnati Hacking Homelessness. Are we included? And it didn't even occur to me because we're one big metro area. So
Right,
yes, the Cincinnati region.
right.
And so what we're doing is it actually combines a lot of my experience and passion. And the goal is get 100 people in a room for the weekend, come up with innovative solutions related to homelessness, and then implement those solutions. And so when I talk to people, they immediately say, oh, I know this nonprofit or this government agency or whatever that does it. And that's great. I've got about 10 people on my team right now. Some are interested in the nonprofit space, some are interested in the government space. Personally, I'm interested in the business space. And so that's how it ties into my past. I believe that businesses are key to solving any issue that we have. And so I'm looking very strongly to get businesses in the room. And so the end of that weekend, our goal is to have what I call 15 1% solutions. And so let me break that down. So I get a lot of questions, and people say, you're going to have all of the community there, starting with people who are currently going through homeless, people who were homeless, their families, governments, nonprofits, businesses, venture capitalists, angel investors, everybody. How are you going to get consensus in the room, right? How are you going to decide on one direction to move? My answer is I'm not. So this is why we're looking for 15 solutions. Once we have that many, you can pick what you like and you can work on that. 1%. The next question that I often got or comment was, you can't really do anything because so many of them are on drugs, or so many of them are this, so many of them are that. And and that's why I talk about 1%. If a solution applies to 1% of the population, if it moves the needle 1%, if it has a 1% effect, it's worth pursuing. Krista, as you probably know, when you get started in business, or of the businesses that start, many of them fail.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we start with 15. We don't think all 15 are going to work in the end. But those that succeed grow. So they'll start out with 1% impact and then grow to 5 or 10%. And then solution because it could be anything. I originally talked about spinning off 5 for-profit companies, 5 nonprofits, 5 social ventures, and then people had problems with that. So yet again, I am more
I gotta
generic.
pick something and go with it. But what'd you come up with? How'd you come up with 15? Where'd that number come from?
Well, it's actually what I just said. I picked it out of the air. I said 5 nonprofits, 5 social ventures, and 5 for-profits.
Okay.
And then as I made it more generic, I just pulled them together and said 15. And so the solution could be a for-profit, nonprofit, or social venture. It might be a marketing campaign. Tell the community these are normal people going through a stage in life. Tell people who are homeless where they can get help. Even telling the nonprofits and governments who each other are, because that's one of the things I found is, there are so many organizations working on this. They don't even know each other. And so that might be a solution. There are thousands of solutions. And my goal is to have the 100 people in the room decide on ones that they like. I want them to be community derived and community supported solutions.
Okay. So you're talking about this event, and I kind of posted about it a little bit, but can you tell us when that is and where and all of the details with that?
Absolutely. So the Cincinnati Region Hacking Homelessness Workshop is June 6th and 7th at Xavier University. So plenty of free parking. If you haven't been to the Gallagher Student Center, I went out and visited. It's an awesome facility. And in fact, if you're looking for space to have an event, I highly recommend you check them out. They're very friendly and nice to work with as well.
That's always good.
Yeah. So right now it's going to be 8 to 6. Okay. So it is a long day. I don't know if you've heard of hackathons. Have you heard of those, Krista?
No, I have not.
So there's a concept of hackathons, and it's not what we're doing, but it's somewhat similar. So, the young computer geeks came up with this idea of a hackathon. They'd get together for a weekend, 48 hours, and decide on something and start coding. And they would do it for 48 hours straight. So, they show up, I'm poking fun at them, but they have their Mountain Dew and their pizza and their Twinkies and just sit there for 48 hours and code and come up with something by the end. So, it's a little bit like that. I actually had visions of doing, like 8 to 8 or 8 to 10. And then people said that I was crazy. So I've backed it off.
So what's the structure of this event? Are you going to kind of have segments and different groups, or kind of tell us what to expect?
Yeah. So if you come out, or when you come out, let me change that. And as I said, we're looking for everybody all across the spectrum to join us. So the first half, or Saturday morning, let's call it, is what I call blue vision or blue sky visioning. So we're going to come in. We're not going to, we're not going to do much of anything. And then we're immediately going to get into some facilitated brainstorming. So we're going to help people come up with innovative ideas. And then in the afternoon, we're going to get more structured. So we'll start out by having some people come in and talk about, some of the stats and talk about some of, some of the things that are already going on. We're going to take some of the ideas from the morning and start thinking about which ones are likely to work. And we're going to start pushing things forward. By the end of Saturday, the goal is to have sort of coalesced around 15 1% solutions. Okay, so that's the end of the day. We are currently talking about having some experiences as well. So I haven't talked to the people yet, but Friday night and Saturday night, I'd love to have some people go out and volunteer at some homeless shelters, or I know some organizations that actually drive around in the middle of the night
Oh.
and hand stuff to people on the streets.
Mm.
So hopefully we'll be able to make that happen. Sunday, we're going to come back in and revisit, do we have the right 15 1% solutions? Because people are going to think overnight, they're going to come up with cool new ideas. They're going to realize that the ideas that we had actually were not the right ones, whatever. But we're going to revisit which 15. And then it's going to become more businessy. Come up with the starts of business plans, do some SWOT analyses. We're going to have business coaches, business advisors. We want to have Queen City Angels, bankers, VCs in the room, people who can help to turn these ideas into successful ideas and fundable ideas. Because as you probably know, Krista, you can be like 1 degree off and from the perfect idea, but that 1 degree may crash you into the ditch. And so we want to have people there who can help us really target the solutions that are going to work.
Yeah.
So that's the structure of our weekend. And again, the two biggest things are, I want everybody in the room. I want the developers. I want the home builders in the room, as well as people who are currently homeless and government officials. And I really want to get what I call the wisdom of the community. So when people talk about the community, a lot of times they talk about the nonprofit and government pieces, but our businesses are part of the community. You, Krista, with your business, are part of the community. The people who you and I both know are part of the community, and they have great ideas as well. And not only do I want them to provide their expertise, I want them to have a platform to be engaged. And I know that so many of the business owners care and have passion about things, but they feel like, no one ever asks them for their opinion. They just ask for some money. I want to have
time to do it themselves. They're kind of like, it's like I'll be there if somebody can organize it, or
right.
Yeah, love to have my input. Yeah, that's what I like what you're doing. You're allowing people to put the input without necessarily committing to doing so much themselves. But everybody putting that tiny bit of effort in will allow things to actually come in place and happen.
Right. And so the two things exactly on what you're talking about, that's what I see it as. One, a lot of people, and I talk mainly about business owners. Again, I've got other people, I'm concerned about government and nonprofit. I've got other people who are focused there. As you know, I'm focused on the business aspect. A lot of people, business owners, don't feel like they can commit regularly to something. And so my goal is that they can commit to one weekend, right? So
Yeah.
if you can't go out every Tuesday night, go down to Christ Church Cathedral and help feed the homeless through the 5,000 Club, then come out just to this one weekend. The other thing that business people can do is help us to make these 15 1% solutions happen. So, if you have skills, if your business does things that new businesses, new nonprofits need, or just, ways to help make them happen, we would love to have participation from the business community for that as well.
Yeah, bringing the resources together, having the people who have those resources, so it's not all that necessarily that you need the money to do these things. Some of those businesses might be able to provide their services to an extent as a way to give back as well.
Absolutely, and that was very well put, and a very strong key when you said to an extent. I'm looking to get a large number of businesses involved, so that it's not like I'm asking, in your case, one photographer to take headshots for 15 businesses or something, right? They're you might be able to do a photo shoot for one thing. Or somebody might be able to build a website for one company or create a logo for one thing. I actually have this vision of P&G giving us 2 marketing resources for 3 months. And so, and again, part of my issue is the room will come up with the solutions, but I could see us wanting to do a marketing campaign to just increase awareness of these as normal people, as they are. I love these, what are they, the bulletin boards or whatever alongside the highway, the ones that say anyone can become homeless or something like that. I have talked to so many people who have been through homelessness that no one would expect.
Yeah.
That millionaire that you talked to may well have been homeless at one point. Steve Harvey, do you know him?
Yeah, he was homeless in his car for
3 years.
3 years. I can't remember how
Yeah.
long. Yeah, that was just recently kind of came out, that story. Yeah.
Right. And so, basically changing people's understanding, right? Because in general, I think that's a fair general statement. People look down at people who are homeless, and they think negatively about them. But the reality is, there but for the grace of God go I. Whatever it is, 1/3 of Americans are one paycheck away from homelessness, right?
Yeah. I can't remember who it was. There was actually another photographer who recently did like a homeless project where he did a nice portrait and told the story and created this book. And I know somebody who helped with that project a little bit. So I'll get the contact for you. That might be somebody that would be might be able to partner up as well, because I saw some of the photos in the story. It was just very touching because, like you said, you don't know where these people came from. You know,
Right.
what got them there, and it could just be a series of unfortunate events that happen no matter what they've tried. And yeah, a lot of them do turn to drugs and stuff, but sometimes it's kind of like their last resort. It's just something to get away from that pain or whatever,
So with respect to drugs, I was talking to a new friend, and he gave me a really different perspective on that. So, those of us middle class, upper class, whatever, often when you come home, or you wake up in the morning, you have your coffee or your tea, you get your caffeine to get going. That's a drug. You come home from work, you grab a glass of wine or have a brandy or, whatever is your thing. And then you veg out in front of the TV for a few hours. All of that is escapism, right? And in reality, most of us have little to escape from, right? But if you imagine someone who's living on the streets, who probably gets 6 hours of broken sleep a night, who doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, and is living in literal danger all the time, the idea that they want more escapism is not surprising. And in reality, many people out in the burbs are doing some of this heavy stuff that you think of when you talk about people living on the streets. I mean, when he pointed all that out to me, it changed my view.
Yeah.
You want to escape it. We want to escape our relatively good lives.
Yeah. What most of us are dealing with is not anything compared to what a lot of people who are hit rock bottom, what they've gone through. And we're not the ones to judge. We're there. We should be the ones that should offer the support that we can. And I don't believe in necessarily just always giving out a handout, but providing opportunities for people to change their lives. You know, and giving them the survival, what they need to survive. It's freezing outside. They need a blanket. Give them a blanket. But then also just providing systems and programs to allow these people who have hit rock bottom to give them a pathway to get out of And
Right.
that's what I think that's what you're all about, is providing those solutions, whatever it may be, and being creative about it. And I really admire you taking the step forward to do something. So I think it's great that you're trying to get the input of many different people and putting those resources together to help.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, yeah, so it's really important to me, and you just said it, and I'm going to say it yet again. It is everybody. So I went to an event, and I won't name the event, not too long ago here in Cincinnati, and it was all nonprofit and government people talking about homelessness, and they were very negative towards the businesses.
Mm.
And then we broke up into small groups. I wasn't in this group, but my partner Sandy Nagel was. There was a developer in there, and the people in the room kept talking negatively about developers. And at some point, he just got fed up. He's like, "Look, you know, I've got to feed my family. I need to keep a roof over my family's head. You all just keep coming to me and saying, give, give, give. You need to do. You need to do. You need to do. How do you expect people to react when that's what you say?"
Mm.
And so I talked to him and said, "I want you in the room at my event, right? I want you to be able to talk to people in the nonprofits. And what I want to figure out is, how do we make it a win-win all around? How do we make it so the developers, I'm a capitalist. I'm free enterprise. I want them to make boatloads of money, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
right. And
It's,
how does that person, while making their money, help the homeless issue? There's got to be a way. Let's figure it out. Let's not turn it into us versus them. Let's not fight and say, you all are evil because you want to make money. This guy, he built a business. He's a Black guy, so had some extra challenges. And you and I both know that to have a successful business, he missed nights, evenings, weekends with his family. I haven't talked to him to hear his story, but most likely, he put his entire life on the line, his entire financial life. And he seems to be doing pretty well. And so he's providing a service or a good, whatever, goods and services that people like. And so I love it. And I want him to do more of that. And again, I want him to make more money so he can keep doing it, turning it over, grow his business, and then in some way figure out how that also impacts the homeless issue. So I don't know the answer, but if he's not in the room, if nobody on that side is on the room, or that side of the discussion is in the room, the people at this thing keep talking, well, the developers just spend a bunch of money and go down and talk at City Hall, and so we can't get our stuff through. And my philosophy is, why don't we stop fighting? Why do you see them as the enemy? Why not go talk to them? Because I know of almost nobody in this world who has zero compassion, right? The people who are building, they do it because they want people to have a nice place to live. And so how can we synergize by working with them instead of against them?
yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah, definitely. It's not all about taxing more to get the money either for different things. It's a lot of businesses have a budget for giving back, and that's a goal of theirs. So many of them, it's a goal. They want to be able to give back. So they want to find the avenues that are going to have an impact. Not necessarily to get anything in return, but just to help. And so just providing an environment where they have a say and they have input on what's going on with the money, I think, is very beneficial, and it's going to impact you're going to find more business owners because you're providing that environment that they feel heard.
Right. So that's absolutely one side of it. A lot of business owners that I talk to say that they're sick and tired of giving to nonprofits because the nonprofits just waste their money. So you're right. If the businesses can help direct, I've got any number of partners in the nonprofit space who understand that nonprofits need to improve their game. They need to up their game. But even beyond that, I believe that there are businesses that can make money by in this field. So, I don't know exactly what it would be, but for instance, Nehemiah Ministries. Have you heard of them?
No.
So they're here in Cincinnati. They're a manufacturing company, and they specifically hire people with criminal records. Okay, so they're a for-profit company, and they're making money while they're impacting that particular population. There's another group out of Columbus called Chicken Takeover. It's a chicken restaurant, for-profit chicken restaurant. They've now got 3 locations, and they also specifically are looking to hire, as they call them, returning citizens with alternative resumes. And so, I don't know precisely what it is, but there are 2 companies right there. They're making money while impacting their population. If you think of Grameen Bank, you may have heard of Mohammed Yunus. He won the Nobel Prize a while ago for micro loans. If you've ever heard of, they used to call them the phone ladies. So over in Africa, third world countries, Africa and India, I think mainly, they would give micro loans to women to buy a cell phone. This was especially, it's probably still true, but when there weren't lots of means of communication. And then they would, someone would come and rent it for an hour or something. I don't know exactly how it worked. And they would make money that way. So his big change was people had always thought you can't lend money to really, really desperately destitute poor people. They'll never pay you back. That was the conventional wisdom, but he did it. And he found that 98% of them paid the money back. So again, I'm not sure, I'm not proposing a solution, but maybe it's this other lady here in Cincinnati that I talked to a couple of years ago. She was looking to set up an artist studio for people who had come out of human trafficking so that they could sell their art. That there are people out there with great ideas, so much more than I can think of, which is why I'm looking to get everybody to come together and talk about it. So, my view of this is there are people living on the edge, living on the streets, then living on the edge, right? Because once you get back into housing, you can fall back into homelessness pretty easily. And so anything that impacts anywhere along that continuum is important and will address the key issue that we're talking about. Because another, it could, again, it might just be a marketing thing. What I heard or read recently, and the numbers fluctuate depending on where you are and all kinds of stuff, but it costs about $1,800 in housing vouchers to keep a family in housing. Okay, $1,800 a month. On the other hand, it costs about $4,000 a month to take care of people in shelters and in the system. So if you are a small government person, if you are a fiscal conservative, I'm pointing this out because it goes directly against what you would normally think. You should want to keep people in housing, because right now it costs more than twice as much to take care of them when they're out of housing. So what?
I said, how is it more expensive for shelters than housing?
Because they have to do a lot more stuff, I guess. I mean, I haven't really dug into all of the numbers, but if that's the reality, and I've read in a number of different places, different numbers, then let's figure out how to keep people in housing. That actually would be a great leverage point. And that's what I'm looking for is, something that will make a significant impact. And so I'm not saying that this will work. Please don't take it wrong. This is an exaggeration. But what if we just cut the entire budget of all this in half and put it all into keeping people in housing? Okay, it's not that easy. I know that. But for some percentage of this population we're talking about, it might be that easy. Mm-hmm. So what can we do to help people retain their housing? And then the reality is, right, so we're talking just dollars from government nonprofit, but just think of the human toll of losing your house. Effectively, you probably lose all of your possessions, the mental stress, the likely physical danger that you go through, trying to get back out of it and then return to where you were before. It's incredible. And most people who go through homelessness end up with some amount or some form of PTSD. So it's, there's just so much to it, so many reasons to find solutions. Monetary, you might think that people who are homeless, they're dangerous. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't care. A lot of people think that way, right? They're dirty. They whatever. Great. I love it. As long as you can agree with me that we should find a way for people to have safe, stable housing, then I want you there. If you think that we don't want homeless people in our community, great. I don't care why you think that. You might think it's God-given sanctity of life. You might think that they're dangerous and dirty. I don't care. If you are pushing for the same end goal that I am, I want those people in the room. Mm-hmm. So I have a very different view and vision of just about anybody else that I run into.
I love it. You can't do it all on your own. Nobody can. You have a goal and a vision, and you want the input of those who can be impactful as well. So I love that you're putting on this event and allowing anybody who has an interest in helping the homeless and has anything that they contribute, from an idea to just a resource, and let's bring it all together and see what we can do with it.
Absolutely. As you said, Krista, it's gathering the wisdom of the community, getting everybody together and again, the Cincinnati Region Hacking Homelessness, because oddly enough, people who don't have housing, they don't actually stop at the river and say, oh, sorry, I'm an Ohio person. Oh, I'm a Kentucky person. So we can't stop at the river.
Yeah. So yeah, and so you're having this event. You said June 6th and 7th, right?
Correct. Saturday, Sunday, June 6th and 7th.
But I know there's people that probably want to help, but maybe that they can't make that weekend. So just reach out to Michael. You can reach out to him through Messenger. We'll post your email, I guess, too, because you can impact or be helpful, get your opinion out there, even if you can't make the event. But we would love to see you there. So any last words?
The one thing is check out our website at CincinnatiHackingHomelessness.com. And as you said, Krista, love to have everybody come out. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and let me tell your audience about what's coming up.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Just like I said, I love what you're doing. And even if this is a small little impact that I can make, I'm glad that I am able to do that for you. So we'll get the word out there, and we hope that everybody can make that event. If not, reach out to me or Michael directly, and we'll get you some information, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Michael. Have a great day.
You too.